Today, I'm gonna tell you the story of a Russian super grandmaster who's become famous not only for his ruthless attacking style, humble character and frowning faces, but mostly for having a positive score against world champions Karpov, Kasparov, Kramnik and Anand, winning the candidates tournament not once but twice in amazing style, and facing off China's Ding Liren for the next world championship in 2023. Today, I'm gonna tell you the story of Jan Nepomniachtchi. Wait. Before I go any further, only 2% of the people who watch my videos are actually subscribed. So please go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much. Let's get on with the video. I'll go over the journey of a gifted kid, from dominating kids tournaments to dominating Russian chess, failing at World Cups, becoming one of the very best in the world, and finally playing for the world title. Ready? Okay, let's go. Let me start by showing you this picture. It features two great players. Jan is the third youngster from the left, and next to him stands the current world champion Magnus Carlsen. The picture was taken in 2002 at the World Junior Championship for players under 12 years old. But wait a second, how did we even get here? Well, it's not too difficult to explain. Jan started playing the game at the early age of 4 and turned out to be a real child prodigy, as we call it. He quickly went up the rating ladder, and just a teenager, he won 3 European chess championships in a row. You think that was impressive already? This is actually where this picture comes in, because in 2002, Jan became the world youth champion, and Carlsen had to content himself with a silver medal. It's just so funny that these youngsters would meet again 2 decades later, where the tables would turn. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Jan's rating gains were fast and steady. He gained quite literally 100 rating points every 2 years. From 2003 to 2007, in a 4-year time frame, Jan went from 2400 to 2600 rating points, picking up his well-deserved GM title in the process. Just 1 year later, Jan reached the world's top 100, without having reached adulthood yet. It was clear that soon, Jan would become one of the very best in the world. Let's fast forward a little bit to 2010. That would become one of the most impressive years in Jan's chess career. But to have a better idea of what we're talking about here, I need to take you back in time, to the very beginning of this video. Jan was born in what used to be the Soviet Union, and as you might know, of course, Russians are real crazy when it comes down to the game of chess. It's like competitive chess was passed on in their DNA. The Soviet Union was dominating the game of chess from the 50s onwards, and Jan was growing up in a climate where the Russian Federation wasn't as successful when it came down to delivering the next world champion. But of course, the expectations were still there, and Jan wasn't up for an easy task. What am I talking about? Well, in 2010, Jan didn't only win the European Individual Chess Championship, but played his first Russian Chess Championship. And after having played 12 rounds, Jan was tied for first place with Sergei Karyakin. Sergei and Jan played a final Armageddon game. A draw would mean a win, since Jan was playing the black pieces. And you guessed it right, why else would the music be so tense? Jan went on to win his first Russian chess championship. Thanks to his success throughout 2010, Jan joined the 2700 club in July. It was clear at this point that Jan could start dreaming about fighting for the world title, facing off the world champion. But to get there, Jan would have to clear a long course, consisting of 3 different stages, each in which top top-level players were competing. The combination of duration and competitiveness made the course almost impossible to complete successfully. Stage 1 was the Chess World Cup and Stage 2 the Candidates Tournament, the winner of which would be granted the right to challenge the World Chess Champion. In 2013, Vichy Anand would pass the crown to Magnus Carlsen, the guy from the picture that I showed you earlier. Let me give you a quick summary of Jan's performance. In 2011, Jan lost against Gatakamsky in the third round. In 2013, Jan lost against Wei Yi in the first round. In 2015, Jan lost against Hikaru Nakamura in the third round. In 2017, Jan lost against Badur Jabava in the third round. And in 2019, Jan finally made it to the fourth round of the event, but lost against Yu Yanyi. Things weren't going as expected. Instead of dominating super tournaments and winning candidates tournaments, Jan was underperforming and he had been hired away as a commentator. Magnus noticed his underperformance and emphasized Jan's great talent, which could be solved if only, quote, he remained his focus.
It's because you cannot maintain focus. I mean, you should be one of the best players in the world, but it's all up to you.
Also, it was clear that the World Cup wasn't Jan's cup of tea. Got it? Cup? Okay, anyway, maybe the course was truly impossible. Maybe Jan would never get his chance. Maybe it was a rigged game from the start. But what if I told you maybe it wasn't? There were different ways to qualify for the candidates tournament. Another one was finishing in either first or second place in the FIDE Grand Prix, a series of 4 chess knockout tournaments spread across 4 different locations, each consisting of 16 players. In 2019, Jan participated in this event. He'd be playing the first and fourth tournament of the event. The first tournament was held in Moscow, which is not too far from his home city, Bryansk. Maybe this felt like a home game and gave him the boost he needed. Because yes, indeed, he won the tournament. But keep in mind, this was only the first stage, and Jan wasn't sure of his qualification quite yet. All of it came down to the fourth and final round in Jerusalem. And again, Jan seemed to have acquired a laser-like focus. He continued to shine. He won against Wei Yi in the finals in a 96-move marathon game, squeaking by Maxime Vachier-Lagrave and securing a second place in the overall Grand Prix standings. Jan was now officially qualified for the candidates tournament, and Jan kept his superb form. 6 rounds into the event, he'd won against Anish Giri, Wang Hao and Ding Liren, and was thus in clear first place. But the 7th round would undo all of this greatness. Jan was up against Maxime Vachier-Lagrave, MVL for short, the Frenchman that wasn't even supposed to be there. He was the replacement for Rajabov, who dropped out of the tournament when the pandemic hit. Jan made an audacious, but in hindsight not very clever, opening choice. He opened with the French defense. That's rarely played on this level, and for sure not against the Frenchman. I mean, Jan, you should know better. He was punished immediately. Maxime won in great style, and Jan was no longer in clear first place, but now tied with Maxime. And on top of all of this, the organizers of the event made a decision to postpone the tournament, considering the pandemic situation and Russia's travel restrictions. Jan had to go home in a bad mood, and the only thing he could do now was preparing for his following games and waiting for the tournament to resume. 1 year had gone by, and Jan was back and ready to play the last 7 rounds of the event. He won against Kirill Alexenko and Wang Hao. In the penultimate round, Jan was paired with Maxime. He kept his cool, and now having the white pieces, Jan obtained an equal position and drew quite easily, clinching the tournament victory with 1 round to spare, which he lost against Ding Liren, by the way. What an anticlimax, but anyway, that wasn't the point. Jan was now officially qualified to play Magnus Carlsen for the next World Championship. It was time for the World Championship 2021, and Jan was off to a great start. He drew his first 5 games, but in round 6, Magnus kept pressing in an equal position. It was the longest game ever played in a World Championship match. 136 moves, but eventually Jan could resign. This was the point where Jan started to lose focus and crumble. In the 8th round, Jan blundered a pawn in the middle game, leaving him with a totally lost position. The next round, Jan now blundered a bishop. 2 rounds later, Jan blundered once again in the middle game, and Carlsen finished him off with 3 rounds to spare. The World Championship 2021 went down in history as one of the most humiliating matches ever played. The standing speaks for itself, 7.5 to 3.5. But despite the many annoying questions throughout all of the interviews,
3-point deficit.
I know.
Your strategy is still heavily trying to win this match?
Jan remained always very honest and respectful of his opponent, winning the hearts of many chess fans. Jan took the loss like a champ. He was already looking forward to the next opportunity. Jan played the next candidates tournament in 2022 and had a head start with wins against Ding Liren, Alireza Firouzja, Jan Christoph Duda and Richard Laporte. And Jan kept his laser focus in further games and smashed a tired Alireza Firouzja in the 11th round. And after 2 more draws, the tournament was over. Jan grabbed the first place with 1 round to spare. It simply couldn't have gone any better for Jan. But be ready for the anticlimax, because this won't become a story of how Jan fought back after his downfall against Magnus. This won't become a story of how the young boy on the picture would make his dream come true and win the world title. No, Magnus decided that he'd been reigning for a long enough period of time. He didn't feel like he needed to prove once again to be better than Jan, despite Jan's amazing performance. Mentally, Magnus couldn't get himself to prepare for hours on long, boring, drawish lines in the Petrov defense, which I don't blame him for. In the next World Championship, Jan will take on China's forgotten genius, Ding Liren, that I made another video about, by the way. Check it out somewhere on the screen. I've said enough for today. Like, subscribe, enjoy the funky music, and I'll see you in the next video.